Hello and welcome to the third sector. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit, and it's that third sector that we're here to talk about today. My first guest is Damon, representing Achieva Resources. Welcome, Damon.
Thanks for having me.
I know people out there are going, Achieva Resources. Boy, that sounds familiar. It didn't used to be called that, and I know some of our folks are going to still call it Green Acres.
Absolutely.
But there's also been a lot of changes since it was called Green Acres.
Sure.
Can you give us a brief history of where it started from and maybe some of the changes that have happened, even most recently, some of the changes?
Sure. No, it's a great question. We hear that conversation all the time. And, you know, it's interesting to see that the roots of our organization were very humble, but came out of a community need. And back in 1956, a lady by the name of Virgie Gabbard decided to open up her garage to children of families that had special needs in the community. In 1956, the state of Indiana did not mandate public education for special education. So Virgie took it upon herself to say, hey, I have a child that has special needs, and I know there's others in town that have that need as well. So our organization very humbly began as the Wayne County Council for Retarded Children and operated a special needs classroom out of her garage for many years. It wasn't until 1970 that the state said, hey, we need special education as part of the public education landscape. And we saw some of those students that she had in the garage then integrate into the public school system. There were still others that maintained their classrooms with Ms. Gabbard, and our organization then started to transfer into the Green Acres that many people are familiar with. Just not a week goes by that we don't hear a story or run into someone and say, oh yeah, I remember, and I was part of this, or I volunteered here, or I worked here, or I had a family member who was involved in some capacity. So we're very proud of that heritage here in Richmond. So years passed, and Green Acres became Achieva Resources, and that came out of a need for guardianship services, adult guardianship services for individuals who had developmental disabilities or mental health conditions, what we call dually diagnosed, that have both developmental disabilities and mental health issues, that was coming through the court system. And in 2010, Achieva Resources took on that guardianship component, leaving behind the vocational rehabilitation component, which is now facilitated by Benchmark Human Services, a great partner with us. They still operate the sheltered workshop, day service programming. Everything is still in the same facility. So because of some great business leadership at the time, that was a matter of flipping a switch, and the next day those consumers came in to many of the same staff members they had seen the day before, and it was a seamless transition. So we're very fortunate to operate as Achieva today, as an area affiliate of the ARC of Indiana, but to be the second largest guardianship service program in the state of Indiana.
And those services are so important.
They are. As we see on a day-to-day basis, the referrals that we receive for clients that enter our guardianship program come from a variety of sources, whether it's direct service providers and nursing facilities or long-term care facilities. Occasionally we get referrals from adult protective services when there's no family around and there's an issue that's taken place. A lot of our referrals here locally come from Reed Health as well. When we have an individual that comes in for care, that there's not an individual or loved one in their family or still living that's with them that can help make some of those important medical decisions and really help ensure that they're in a safe and secure environment and have all the healthcare services and supports that they need. So that's where our organization steps in to really be an extension of family for those remaining years for that individual.
I had an uncle who had cerebral palsy, and you know, we were very fortunate because he was surrounded by family who could step in, and he lived in a sheltered apartment. He had a job, but there are so many individuals that don't have that family that can take care of him.
Yeah, there are, you know, and unfortunately, you know, we run across a lot of unique situations, and a lot of times even for those who do have family members, there may have been situations where a family member or a community member may have tried to take advantage of that individual or exploit them in a way that obviously is not a beneficial way. And those situations are near and dear to our heart because we want to be able to help and be able to step in and help get them the things that really all of us take for granted at some point in time in our lives. You know, having a place to live, a place to sleep, some place that you've got someone that's watching over you 24/7, that if you need anything, they're there.
Yeah.
So we're very blessed to be able to serve the communities that we do.
Even in Bobby's case, they tried to take advantage of him, which is so sad. These individuals that they just don't know any better, and they're so trusting and loving.
Sure.
So
Yeah, and that's,
I'm grateful.
the folks that we see, we really do adopt in as family, and we're a part of their day-to-day lives. There's times that we may leave the office space and go out into the community to those facilities to visit and everything, and they always brighten up our day and kind of make so we get to laugh and joke and play around and really enjoy our time with them as well.
So what would it look like if someone is out there thinking, I know someone that needs these services? What would that process look like for them to get in touch with you and maybe say, I think I know somebody that needs your help?
Sure. Great question. We receive referrals, like I said, from a number of sources. And for us, what we want to do when we get a call is we want to kind of evaluate and determine, does this individual really qualify? Meaning, have they been deemed from the medical community as incapacitated? And that's a very difficult term to understand, where someone may have the ability to make decisions for themselves, they may not be making correct decisions. So a team of medical professionals typically weighs in and completes a report for us that gives us a better picture to understand the full background and history, as well as where that individual may be currently, so that we can better articulate that to the court system as well. So a judge who may be hearing that case may say, you know what, this is in this individual's best interest for someone to look after them and make sure they have those services. So we do have referrals there. Because of who we are and what we do, we're one of 20 organizations in the state of Indiana that the Indiana Supreme Court has given the ability to serve in a guardianship capacity. So because of our knowledge and expertise in that field, we do on average between 12 and 18 families during the course of the year call us to help obtain guardianship for their loved ones. So a lot of those situations may come from out of state, where someone in the family may have kind of gotten lost in the shuffle and no one really has heard from them in quite some time, but here's a situation and they've fallen ill and we've gotten a call. And part of our process too, before we move forward and get involved, is we want the family to understand what we do, who we are, and what role we're going to play in that individual's life moving forward. So we look at obtaining consents from family members. A lot of times we get those because of the distance and our proximity to that individual. We can check on them more frequently. A lot of times it's that long lost loved one that everyone's been looking for years. And those are always very touching phone calls of saying, oh, I'm so glad you reached out. We've been looking for so-and-so for so long and we had no idea where they were at. And those are always really kind of blessings, because to be able to reunite a family and bring them together, and then also from our organization standpoint provide them the resources to make those decisions and really move back into a capacity where they can help their loved one is really rewarding. So.
And then do you have group homes or individual apartments? Where do these folks live?
Sure. That we rely on our community of direct service providers. So Achieva Resources really serves in the guardianship capacity. We're not a direct service provider, so we do not have the staff to facilitate residential environments and things like that. So for folks that we take on in guardianship roles, all those individuals are in long-term care facilities or in group homes, supported living homes, where the care and support they need is provided by a direct service provider within that community. So,
and I think that's a little bit of a change, isn't it?
It is. And at one point in time, we did operate some of the group homes here in town and everything. It's a bit of transition, but by kind of backing away from some of those things, it gives us more time to invest not only in the guardianship services and making sure that we're connected with the people we serve, and it's kind of a catch-22 when I describe this to individuals, but one of the things that we do from an advocacy component with the ARC of Indiana is really advocate for folks to really be in the less or least restrictive alternative to guardianship that they can be for as long as they can serve in that capacity. So I always get that question of, well, what do you mean you're a guardianship organization, but one of your key things that you do every day is you advocate for folks to not enter guardianship. So, you know, what we want to do is we want to give folks the ability to make their own decisions for as long as they can. So we do a lot of educational components and try to work with the local high schools, especially with individuals who are going through junior high to high school and looking at what does transition look like after school age years. And for that family who's cared for that individual with a disability, what does that look like for them as they become an adult? Are they going to stay at home? Do we want to set some goals for vocational rehabilitation? Do we want to set some personal, professional obstacles in their way that they want to achieve? And how do we best do that by way of the legal remedies that are available? So, it's kind of a catch-22 that we're working on facilitating and empowering individuals to make their own decisions, but at the same time, when those opportunities are exhausted, we are here to serve in the guardianship capacity if needed. So
That's a lot of information, Damon.
it is. It is.
Well, we've got just a couple minutes left. So what else do we need to know about Achieva that we haven't covered?
I think the biggest thing for us and the folks that we serve through the guardianship program is we rely not only on our staff team, but on volunteers from the community. So we're always looking for people, what I always say is people who have a heart for people, to spend time with individuals, to make sure that they're integrated and have opportunities to engage with our community. Go out, see a movie, go to dinner, go to church, go see an event at one of our local universities, things like that. So for folks that are interested in volunteering, we would love to get connected. Our requirement is we just want our volunteers to spend at least an hour a week with the folks that we serve as clients, just to give them that connectivity and friendship and an ability to really feel integrated in the community.
And live a normal life.
Absolutely. It's no different than you and I.
Absolutely. So if folks out there are interested in talking with you more about volunteering, how can they get in touch with you?
Easiest way is to connect with us by phone. Our number at the office at Achieva is 765-966-0502. You can ask for myself or any of our staff members and just let them know that you're interested in volunteering. And like I said, we just want people who care for people.
It's a tough job, but lots of rewards.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here today.
Thanks
I
again.
thought I knew a lot about Achieva, but I've learned a little bit more than I did. So thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll be right back with more of the Third Sector. Welcome back to the Third Sector. My guests now are Jackie and Tracy, and they're here from the Independent Living Center. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I know we've had Jim on before talking about everything that the center does in general, but I want to hear more about what you guys do down there, because I know that you have some fascinating jobs and you really do a lot of great work in the community. So Tracy, let's start with you.
Sure.
Tell me what it is that you do at the center.
Well, I'm the director of the Independent Living Services program, and that's one of the two programs we have down at the center. And my program serves any age and any disability. Our youngest is 5 years old, and we are in the process of helping a 3-year-old little guy get into the first steps in birth to 5 and into preschool with an IEP, an individual education plan. That's going to help him ensure that he gets the services and supports he needs throughout his school year. We do wraparound services for families. A lot of times when children are born with disabilities, the doctors kind of clear them medically and then send the family out into the world, and the family sort of doesn't really know what to do next. So we're here to help build that bridge and ensure that they get supports and services through the other programs as well as ours to ensure that that little one has a good and a strong and social life.
It can be very scary.
It can,
You
yeah.
have a child that's diagnosed with some type of delay or disability, and they say, good luck.
Yeah, yeah. And the doctors, they sort of wonder what's called the medical model, which is obviously medically based. And once the child, the newborn, has no further medical needs, their job is done, essentially. But the family still needs so many more supports and services. And we can kind of step in and say, look, you know, yes, this is very different than what you imagined during your pregnancy and with your family. We can help you through this. And sometimes the parents need to vent or to just kind of say, okay, wait, I'm overwhelmed. And that's okay. That's a natural part of this. And, you know, a lot of times when the little ones grow up, which is one of the things we have a privilege of being involved with from the time they entered our program through the time the individual chooses to leave the program for whatever reason, we can be a part of their lives. So the 5-year-old, I've been a part of his life for 3 years, and I've watched him grow and go to first day of school and all of that, and that's another very anxiety-producing time for parents and kids because, you know, school is scary, especially if you have a disability, and the parents, you know, are protective and loving and want to make sure everything's set up, and teachers, you know what they need to do, or sometimes they don't know what they need to do, and we have conferences and connections, and just kind of sit down and talk about what's best for the child. So we can help be that support system too.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I have a great nephew who's blind, and it really takes everyone working together to assure that he has a quality education.
It does, it does.
And he has just excelled beyond measure,
Awesome.
and just, you know, is really doing so well in his schooling.
Great.
But it's because everyone came together to make sure that happened. So-
Exactly, including the student.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, we're not saying, oh, well, we'll do all this, you just sit there. And the student has a lot of responsibility too.
Yes.
But we're kind of like a support network or a net for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jackie, tell us about your aspects of work down there.
I work with the program for people 55 and older with vision loss. And last year we served over 550 people who, from ages 55 up to our oldest one just turned 104.
Oh my goodness.
This week. And our aim is to help people with vision loss to be able to get all the tools they need so they can continue to be independent, continue to be involved with their family members and with their community, and be independent enough to stay in their own homes, not have to go to nursing homes or assisted living facilities. And we have all kinds of wonderful and amazing tools that people can get in order to help them to do that.
And I think you've brought some. Tell
Yes,
us about
we
some
have.
of these devices.
Okay, good. The ones that I brought are, we have a lot of large format things like this calendar, which is obviously very large. And as people get to be older, they often have a lot of medical appointments, other critical appointments that they need to be able to keep track of. And on this, they can write large enough that they can read it after they make notes for themselves.
Yes, that's great. You're all made that over
it's
here.
really,
give you more
okay,
room.
great. And then we have, in addition to large format calendars, we have large format check registers, address books, all kinds of tools like that, as well as large format recreational things so that people can continue to have fun in life, like bingo, playing cards, various things like that. Then we have a lot of talking things, and we only brought a couple, but they're like this clock.
It is 4:19 p.m.
A lot of people, who, once they've lost vision, can't read their clocks anymore or can't read their watches. And so we have also talking watches. We have talking color IDs so that they can match their clothes and feel that they really can look good when they go out the door. for helping them to do their finances. We have things like this talking calculator, which
All
is
clear. 5, 6 plus 3, 2 plus equal 8, 8.
so that they can continue to manage their checkbooks, check their bank accounts, all of that kind of thing. We have talking health items like talking thermometers, talking bathroom scales, talking cooking.
We don't need that one.
Right. It's never said, will the second person please get off the scales? Thank goodness.
It would if I got on there, Jackie. I'm just going to say it.
It's really very helpful for people, especially that have heart conditions, where they need to monitor their weight and make sure they're not taking on extra water. We also have a lot of talking cooking things. Talking cooking thermometers, candy thermometers, barbecue thermometers, various things like that, as well as large format measuring cups and other tools so that people can be able to continue to do the things they like to do in the kitchen. And then we have a loaner program in which we have handheld CCTVs. They're small closed circuit TVs that have advantages over magnifying glasses in that you can change the color of the background, the color of the letters. You can make the letters as big as the screen is tall, and they have a number of different levels of magnification built in them. And then we have the desktop CCTVs that do all of that, but the screen can be as large as a TV, and people can make the letters again as tall as the screen is tall so that they can read their mail. I just got a frantic call today from a woman who said, my loaner CCTV won't work and I can't read my mail and I can't read my newspaper. I have to have it replaced immediately. And we have those in a loaner program where we can loan them at no cost to the individual for as long as they're helpful. So that's just an overview of the kinds of things we have.
So you have one more thing here. Let's talk
Yes,
about
and this is Tracy's.
the pill pack. Oh, Tracy, I'll hold it up for you
Yes.
since
Okay.
you're over there.
Fabulous.
Tilt it a little so we
Well,
can see.
What this is a lot of times individuals take medications throughout the day. And sometimes, even the best of us sometimes forget whether we've taken our meds or
I
not.
do all the time.
Yeah. So what this is it has a pill box for every day of the month. And yes, you take the pill box out and you can set it down next to that clock. Kind of
Here?
there. Yeah, it sits right there. And then when you're done with that, you pick it back up, and one side is green and one side is red.
Oh.
So the
we'll put
green
it
means
back
you
in.
haven't done it yet, and the red means you have taken your meds. And it talks quite a bit, but the clock on the bottom will also, you can also set alarms, and you can set them in your own voice. So you can say, Mom, take your pink heart pill, or whatever identification, rather than just take medication, because maybe they don't know which medication that is. So that's a very handy thing, and that can be set up for a whole month. And so that the care provider or the individual can know, at the beginning of the month, they've set it up, and whew, I don't have to worry about the 45 pill bottles anymore. I can put it all in there, and it's all set, and the clock will tell me when to take it, and I take it, and then when I'm done, I put it back in the thing, take the next one out, and I'm all set for the next day.
That's very handy.
Yes, it really is. It's a wonderful reminder system.
Absolutely. I know toward the end of my dad's life, he had so many different medications and my
Yeah.
mom would say, Ralph, did you take this? And he couldn't remember, she couldn't remember.
Yeah.
This would have come in so handy for them. And especially with the reminder down here.
Yes, yes.
What a great piece of equipment for those that are elderly or forgetful.
Exactly.
Even don't have to be elderly. I'm forgetful too.
Exactly. Yeah, I am as well. Or if you've got, a crazy college life going on or whatever, and you're just like,
Absolutely.
I normally take them in the morning, but last night I stayed over with my friend, and so did I take them? Did I not take them?
Yes.
It's kind of it's a good way to ensure that you've taken them.
Yes. Well, believe it or not, we've got a few minutes left. So what would you like to tell them about the services that you're providing at Independent Living Service that we haven't covered already?
One of the things that I would like to mention is we can and do help individuals with disabilities transition from high school to either college life or careers. So we can help with that because there's a little bit of a chasm between the K through 12 special education programs and the workforce or continuing education into college. So sometimes folks kind of slip into that crack, and we can fill that crack in too.
Mm-hmm. And we kind of touched on this a little bit with the loaner program, but if folks are out there and they need a calculator and they don't have a lot of money, are there grants? Or how can they acquire these? Is there a way, I should ask, to acquire these if they're on a limited income?
We do have mini grants through the state of Indiana. We have a grant that allows us to provide tools like this to to people of any age, because the state knows it's much cheaper for people to be able to stay in their own homes and be independent than it would be if they had to go into assisted living or a nursing home. So we can provide things both through our loaner program and through our mini grants.
Super. Does insurance ever cover items like this?
We do encourage folks to check with their insurance provider prior to coming to us, because they might be able to get it through their insurance provider, which would free us up to help an individual that may not have it provided.
I know money's always tight for nonprofits, and you guys do amazing work with what you have. And I just want to thank you for the work that you do in the community.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having us.
And thanks for being my guest today.
We appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us today on The Third Sector.